the thing is, I come across all this data and I look into it, but then I never save any of it. So I'm like, I know I read this, I know it, but
Yeah, no, I
intuitively,
understand.
right? I mean, like if you're a healthy person, you exercise, you eat well, you're not stressed, you have good mental health, you're going to do a lot better against a virus than if you're, none of those things.
If you're eating McDonald's and
Smoking
KFC
two
and
packs
never
a
getting
day or
exercises, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
another big thing is the repetitive programming too. Like the amount of times I've heard the same thing, like thousands of times. Like one of my favorite areas to study for self-improvement, and I actually have like courses on this and coach people, is the subconscious mind
Mhm.
and how to reprogram it. And what you're witnessing now is like a complete master class in subconscious reprogramming, just like over and over again, over and over and over and over again, these messages. You start to believe it. You start to believe anything that's told to you over and over again. So it's insane.
Yeah. And so what else is involved in this kind of like programming of the subconscious mind other than repetition? Because that seems to be obviously the main theme. What are some
Yeah.
other aspects so people can look out for it if they're keen to do that?
Well, a big thing is authority figures. If someone you regard as an authority figure tells you something, you're going to take it on uh, with more, I guess, you're going to take it on more.
Mhm.
Like if you're young and your mom or your dad who you adore says, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're never going to amount to anything, you could be 50 years old and have those words repeating, and they're going to be affecting your thoughts if it was programmed in the right way. So authority figures telling you something, so police, health professionals, presidents, that type of thing, they have a bigger weight than maybe your neighbor or the conspiracy theorists on the internet who's not an authority figure.
Yeah.
Um, and programming happens best in a trance state. So typically when someone is a bit sleepy right before sleep or when they're waking up, the brain waves are in a particular frequency where it's easier for you to become suggestible. And what are people doing all day? They're on their phones, they're watching TV late at night, and they're getting hit all day, in the morning, at night, on TikTok, on Instagram. You see the messages on Google. You're getting hit all the time with, 19 is dangerous. This is destructive. This is going to mess you up. Even if you don't want to believe it, even if you're choosing to ignore it and you're consciously paying attention to it, those impressions are again put in your mind,
Mhm.
thousands of times. It's very effective.
Yeah, it creates this kind of like low grade anxiety that you can't really
Oh
trace
yeah,
necessarily to anything specific, but it's just kind of always there.
yeah, it's crazy.
Um, yeah, it's crazy indeed. I have a hard time understanding what the end game in all of this is. And I think, for people like us, it's kind of like all speculation, right? I mean,
Yeah.
uh clearly by observing the facts or what we see, can't even say they're facts, but what we see, we can formulate some pretty good hypotheses.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel that it's mostly greed and money and profit, or do you think that there's some like more sinister agenda at bay? Because I feel like that's kind of like where the spectrum of theory to conspiracy theory kind of starts to formulate for a lot of people. I just
Mhm.
regard them all as theories.
Yeah.
I don't really see like if they turn out to all be lizards and they came out tomorrow with proof, I'd be like, I'm not surprised. I'm actually not that surprised. It's like I didn't think it was likely, but I'm not shocked by any stretch of the imagination. So like I'm open
Oh
to
yeah.
all theories because that's kind of my attitude. But where's your head at with that? Do you think it's just greed or is there more at play?
Well, there's a few, I guess, possible solutions I've entertained. The most basic one, I guess, the more rational one that you might think is just greed. It's just ignorance in terms of the scientists involved. Kind of this dogmatic way of thinking, where they're thinking that what they think is true is 100% true, and we've seen that in science over the years. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a byproduct of science that happens sometimes, where people just have the blinders on, they focus on whatever they're doing. At one stage, people thought that freaking the sun revolved around the earth. The earth was the center of the world and the galaxy
That
and
the Milky
stuff.
Way was the only galaxy.
Yeah,
It was the
so
entire universe. That was in like the 1920s.
scientists always talk in definites for some reason, and people tend to believe it every single time. They're like, the electron is the smallest thing ever. Oh no, 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 actually it's not. It's not. There's these quarks that are small. Oh no, there's something small. It's always like
Yeah.
that type of thing. So that's I guess the rational way of looking at it. Is just they're scientists. They're looking for the greater good, and they just might be wrong with certain aspects. Another way of looking at it is the corporate greed. Like in reality is there's like a network of big tech, big pharma working together that bought out all the politicians, big pharma. And this is just their way of kind of profiting. I heard that Pfizer's making a lot of money this year.
So, 30 plus billion, some 37, 38 or something like that, apparently.
That's another theory that's just a big money grab. Another theory, ascending in terms of sanity, I guess.
Yes, I like it. Take me higher.
Ultimately, this is all kind of leading to more Orwellian type world where people have less and less control. They become slaves. Kind of like the social credit score in China. Like the governments around the world, America, Canada, Australia, they're looking at China and they're like, these guys are whooping our asses. They're killing it. And we need to replicate what they're doing to get that type of success. Because people in China, you might not have the same freedoms as you and me. They're told what to do, when to do. If they got COVID, they're getting locked up in their room with like a concrete wall or something. So
yeah,
it's very easy to get what you want done when you have slaves. So that's another level of it. The few at the top, I guess, the cabal or whatever you want to call it, the Illuminati are controlling and pulling the strings. Another level, even higher, which I alluded to earlier, is this is literally like demonic forces playing in the astral realms, and what's happening is kind of like this collective egregore, like demonic force that's ultimately trying to destroy humanity.